How y'all doing? For this book review, I'm going to cover 3 books. They are the Princeton Field Guides to Dinosaurs, Mesozoic Sea Reptiles, and Pterosaurs. They're pretty self-explanatory, but these are all written by paleontologist and paleoartist Gregory S. He is known for a lot of his technical drawings, particularly of his skeletal reconstructions. Before these books, probably many of you who know of him at all are familiar with his 1988 book, Predatory Dinosaurs of the World. And, this book, it will have a... this book that he's written, these are written in a similar format and how they're structured. I mean, as I say, he does a lot of skeletal reconstructions. This one has a bit more technical base, but as I say, he does stuff like these types. He also as well as the regular paleo art we're all familiar with. He has a distinct style, very flat, if I may add. When you do that in a lot of cases, but I'm digressing here. So now, before you attempt to buy these books, just let you know that as of 2010, I bought the first edition, which sat on my shelf, and I haven't had a chance to read it because the second edition came out. And it wasn't up until 2023 that I started to read these, because I got this and Mesozoic Reptiles and Pterosaurs, and I finally got to read them. But here's the thing, as of May of 2024, and I'm filming this in February 2024, but May 7, 2024, the 3rd edition of the Princeton Field Guide to Dinosaurs will be released. So you may want to hold off until then. So don't look for the blue one, that's the 1st edition. You'll see a Dinosaurs on this one. That will be the 2nd edition. There's going to be a different illustration on top of that. So make sure to look for 3rd edition come this May before you purchase the rest of these. Now, the Mesozoic Reptiles and the Pterosaurs came out of 2022. And dinosaurs, we seem to constantly find new species all the time compared to pterosaurs and marine reptiles. So if those two are going to get 2nd editions or more, it's going to be a while for information to come in. With that said, let's explore how these books are structured. Going down to the chapter contents section of the book, just to tell you what all of these books are structured. Now, I'm going through the dinosaur one first, because that's probably most likely the one you're going to get. But I do suggest get the other 2 for complete your collections here. All right. So in the introduction, he will talk about the history and how dinosaurs were discovered here. He talks about what are dinosaurs and the dating methods. This is all pretty standard stuff. Nothing technical compared to, say, the predatory dinosaurs of the world. But it's enough to keep you informed in case you don't know how all this works here. So he gives a good rundown on that, evolution of dinosaurs in the world, extinctions, and after the dinosaurs. Then he talks about the biology, and that's where he talks about the general anatomy, skin feathers and color, respiration and circulation. And, think about it, skin feathers and color. I mean, back in 2010, it was just before, not right at the time, we discovered the possibility of color. So he covers that here. That's one of these things, new additions that you need to keep track of. Respiratory and circulation, digestive tract, senses, vocals, and all that. Behaviors, what's known about that. Brains, nerves, intelligence, social activities, reproduction. Growth, energetics, giganticism, Mesozoic oxygen, evolution and loss of avian flight. Dinosaur safari. A lot of these books will have that sort of a fictional imagining of, if you were a time travel, what would it be like when you go back in time. If dinosaurs had survived, hypothetical stuff, dinosaur conversation, where dinosaurs are found, and the part, the meat of the book, after you get all that, which is, for that, this one's going to be around 60 pages of that introduction. Probably the slowest part of, of reading through. These are big books, and these are, it's not small, it's a small print there. If you have a problem with small letters here, just be warned. Now, but to each their own. Now, the meat of the book would be the group and species account. That's the part where he talks about dinosaurs and divides up the theropods, sauropodomorphs, and then the ornithischians. Theropods and sauropodomorphs, those are the saurischians. So I don't, but before that, he uses the group and species description. That's how you read the meat of the book, where he talks about the individual dinosaurs and the information that's found in here. It's a good reference book to have on you. So, now, right before that, beginning intro, he talks about how he uses using the group and species description. He talks about how to read that section. You know, let me read a certain. The species descriptions are listed here hierarchically, starting with major groups and working down to the level of ranking the genera and species. Because many researchers have abandoned their traditional linear system of classes, order, suborders, and families, there is no longer a standard arrangement for the dinosaurs. Many dinosaur genera are no longer placed in official families, so none is used here. So he talks about the details on how he structured this. So it's not as strict as you may want it, but because there's still debate on what species belongs to what, how things are grouped, he keeps it in a very broad sense. So don't take this as a set in stone, because science hardly is, until, but paleontology is specifically about that. But he talks about how he sets this up. He starts broad and goes, narrow. So he starts with a section. You start off with theropods, and basal theropods. He gives a broad description right here, and then he could go to the species, and in the species he will give things like the measurements. He gives them both feet and meters, and estimated weights in kilograms and pounds, if available. Some of these don't have. Some of these specimens talk about doesn't have names. Some of them don't have accurate. There's not enough found to give an accurate description. So he tells you what he can. He will talk about the fossil remains, like for instance, Styracosaurus presi. He talks about fossil remains, minority of the skull, majority of skeleton. It's a brief description like that. Anatomical characteristics standard for the group. Again, when you start broad. Like in the basal theropods, he talks about the description of what they are, and then he says, then you read the species and you read about how that's different from the basic stuff. However, just so you know, as I was reading this, you're going to find a lot of samey, repeated language again and again and again. Like he talks about one group, highly variable, of course. When you get to specifics, some of them say, it will have, you'll read the same, one species will read almost the same as another one. You're going to read that as a lot if you just read these all the way through. So, okay, so with that said, it talks about anatomical characteristics, and for group, age, late Triassic, early Carnian. He does give a timeline section in each of these books. So if you don't know, you only know Jurassic, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, he does give to the epochs, and so you get an idea on where these are placed. So, distribution formation: southeast Brazil, lower Santa Maria. Habitats habits. Prey includes Saturnalia. He will also may give information that it may have lived, that is known to live with other species that it's been found with a strata like that. So again, wonderful research one. This one he covers about all the dinosaurs that he can find at the time that doesn't know about. But he's coming up with a third edition, so there's that. And of course, if you need a quick find of any of these dinosaurs, and if you don't know the name, or if you know the name but you don't know where to look, he does have a very handy index involved in that. So you can look for it quickly as you wish. And of course, many of us are always fans of dinosaurs, but definitely get the marine sea reptiles and the pterosaurs to go with it, because when you study paleontology, you want to get the whole picture. These books are very handy, and there's probably things you never even knew about. For instance, if you get the marine sea reptiles, I'm being redundant here, Mesozoic sea reptiles, sorry about that. Same pattern as before. He talks about the history, the dating methods and all this stuff. Again, like early comic books, each comic book is its own thing. You may not have read the dinosaur ones, but you just get the Mesozoic sea reptiles, so he's going to read it as if you didn't read the other two. He talks about the general biology. He talks about the anatomy, swimming, on the beach, the salt problem, all the things, all the basic biology stuff about what marine vertebrates have to deal with, and how they go with these others, at least that is known. Behaviors, growth and aging, giganticism, all that stuff. Again, similar format as that, but relating to the Mesozoic sea reptiles. Now, it gets the group and species accounts. So this book will cover things like of course, the mosasaurs, the ichthyosaurs, pliosaurs, plesiosaurs, and turtles. We all maybe you know about Archaeolon, but there's several species of ocean turtles at the Mesozoic times, and pretty large as themselves. But also crocodiles and snakes, and some and some actual sea reptiles, before they were, adapted fully to marine. So again, this is a good book to have for things you probably didn't even know about. And of course illustrated with this, technical skeleton diagrams, fleshed out once on some of them, and the sometimes in full scenes, in the habitat. And of course, there's not illustrations for each one. But hey, if you're up for it, if you know the species, you can look that up on Google Scholar or your local library and get the technical papers about on that. Same format as before. He starts broad and goes down to specifics, and this one's described from diapsids and neodiapsids. That's related to holes in the skull. You got your plesiosaurs, pliosauroids. All sorts of that. So again, I'm going to show a slideshow of the pictures of these books that I Googled. They're not in any order, but to give you a further idea of how they're structured and all that. So again, if you're interested in sea reptiles, you saw Jurassic World and saw the Mesozoic, this is probably a good book to have to start you off on that. Of course, then there's the pterosaurs. Now, this is the thinnest one, but the introduction part, before you get to the meat of it, is the longest. While the Mesozoic, by the sea reptiles and the dinosaurs, are about 60 pages of introduction of the science and everything, this one is about 90 because he goes through so much details that wasn't necessary as before. So again, with pterosaurs, you got your history, the dating and all that stuff that he covered that before, but then he narrows down to the biology related to pterosaurs, general anatomy, walking, running, climbing, swimming, pterosaur pneumatics. He goes through a lot of this because there's a lot of people will probably need to know about vertebrate flight patterns, because he compares pterosaurs anatomy with bats and birds. They only are two groups of vertebrates that are not pterosaurs that have learned how to fly. And all that. So, and then he goes through these groups of species account, the meat of it, which is pterosaurs and rhamphorhynchoids and pterodactyloids. So he spreads out on that. Now, let's see. The dinosaur one is about 350 pages. It's the thickest one, and of course the next edition, which I'm probably going to break down and get when that comes out, will be much more. So 350 pages on this one, 200 pages total reading for the Mesozoic sea reptiles, and about 170 some odd pages of the pterosaurs. So it gets thinner, but this one has the thickest introduction of all because of the details he has to go through about pterosaur anatomy. But also something I tend to notice, the pterosaur one is the only one with a reference section where he talks about all his resources. You don't find that in the other two. Granted, if you probably put all his resources in dinosaurs alone, this is probably going to be a thick book like the Dinosauria, which I have on my shelf. And again, a book I collected over 20 years ago and have yet to read. How much that's out of date, I don't know. But with that said, that's just something I noticed here. And again, Mesozoic sea reptiles doesn't have much references. It has further reading sections, which is a very small part of an upper page. Let me show you. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, additional reading. 4 sources. Brett's sermon. Let's see. And J. Farlow, The Complete Dinosaur, 2nd edition. Don Glutt's Dinosaur Encyclopedia, 97 to 2012, and this including supplements 1 through 7. I have one of Don Glutt's books there, but and let's see. Gregory S. Paul's The Scientific Book, the Scientific American Book of Dinosaurs. I have that one. And let's see, Dinosaurs of the Air, as well, and Wishapple and Dodson and Osmoska, Dinosauria, 2004, which that could be the one on my shelf I'm talking about here. But that's it. That's just a suggested reading, not references. So yeah, this is the 3 books of the Princeton Field Guides of Prehistoric Vertebrates, particularly the Mesozoic area, dinosaurs, Mesozoic sea reptiles, and just too many times, pterosaurs. Alright, so again, these are great reference books to have. But, as I've gone over this plenty of times before, with paleontology, where the science is still adapting, we're still finding new species, new research, and what have you, books like these get out of date real quick. So, these can range about, the dinosaur one that's coming out, the 3rd edition, is going to be around $40. And And just, that the last one came out in 2016. First one's 2010, 2016, 2024. So it keeps us up. This will probably give them good income for those who keep buying it. Yeah, but you have to be really active to want to keep up with that. But that's the nature of these things. So I mean, shoot, Predator Dinosaurs of the World is you may still have a lot of technical stuff that you may that's still in use today, but back in '88 you probably want to go to newer sources to to keep up what predator and dinosaur information is out there. We found a lot more T-Rexes since then. There are theropods we have not discovered at that time. Dinochirus was only a pair of arms back then. But with that said, for those of you who are interested in that, again, I got a slideshow showing you sample pages and further up on that. And so there you go, Princeton Field Guides to by Gregory S. Paul of Dinosaurs, Sea Reptiles and Pterosaurs. Remember, you see this one with the Dinochirus on it? That's the second edition. Wait till May and look for third edition. So May 7th, 2024. All right, that should do it. I hope you for those of you who are just interested in paleontology, you want a good starting references. Hey, what's this dinosaur? What do I what if I want to learn about this one group here for research? Maybe you're a short story writer and you want to something outside of T-Rex and Velociraptor, which are, let's face it, are done to death in any dinosaur media. Thank you, Jurassic Park. We love you, but people just stick to the same things all the time because that's what we're familiar with. But there's so much more out there. If you're going to going to try and study paleontology, it was an entire world. That's like saying making a wildlife of our world and only have lions and tigers and a couple wolf species. There's much more life out there to work with. So there's that reference point. Also because of the skeletal reconstructions, you could if you're an illustrator or if you're a sculptor, you could use that as a reference point and see what you can fill in with that. I mean, there's probably multiple uses for books like this, ready at hand in case you need it. If anything, you got something to start with, so if you want more details, you could just type in, Google Scholar or go to your library and find the technical details of what is known about these and leap off from there. So, Princeton Field Guides by Gregory S. Paul. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day.